It's time for Talking Sports, Birmingham's only weekly sports update to put you in the game. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Now, here is your winning action host, Keefer, and the legend.
Welcome to Talking Sports, ladies and gentlemen. It's Saturday morning. It's the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It ain't Kurt Herbstreit. It ain't the opening drive. It ain't three-man front. It's the greatest sports team in Birmingham, Keefer and the legend, better known as Kip and the legend. Kip, hey, brother, it's a Saturday. What do you think, man?
I am pumped. We're 5 weeks from college football.
Close.
This week, and we'll talk about this in the second segment, they had this gathering over at the Winfrey, I think it's called SEC Media Days.
SEC Media Days.
You and I didn't get invited, so...
Why?
Yeah, hey, Greg Sankey, the authorities on SEC football were not invited to the party. What's up with that? Anyway, we'll get that fixed because Talking Sports is blowing up right now. We will be front and center for the next SEC Media Days. I'm not sure if it's even in Hoover next year. Might be over in Atlanta.
It's in Atlanta.
Might be road trip.
Road trip. About time for some road trips.
But we are getting pumped because football is what we are all about. We're only 5 weeks away. Cannot wait. The legend jump-started things this week on Twitter, and we've got a brand new Twitter site, by the way.
Yes, we do.
It is Talking Sports 14. The legend already got it up and running yesterday. We've got a couple hundred followers already.
200 already in one day.
200 followers, and that's a great start. So before you do anything else, get on your Twitter and get on board with Talking Sports. But the primer that the legend provided this week was his original preseason top 10. Don't look at all those other ones. Yeah. This is the legend's top 10.
The real dude. The truth right here, Kip.
And number one is...
the Alabama Crimson Tide.
No.
What a shocker, ladies and
No.
gentlemen. I know you thought I was going to put Auburn up there, didn't you, Kip? You thought Auburn was going to be number one.
You're really a secret Auburn fan.
Well, I do like Gus Malzahn. I have to admit, he's a handsome man. I have to admit.
You don't want him to ever leave.
Never leave, Gus. Never leave. But Alabama's number one, Kip. And I really believe this season will come back down to 1 Alabama and 1A Clemson. I think they're clearly the two best teams in the nation. And I really think we're just wasting time about playing any other game than the national championship game, Kip. It's that much of a difference. That's why I have them 1 and 1A. These are clearly the two best teams in the nation. But the revenge factor, Kip, and the fact that Clemson can't keep their mouth shut talking about Notre Dame's better than Alabama at ACC Media Days, it's going to give Alabama the edge. We fear no one. We will be back for that ring, Kip.
So wait a minute. So Notre Dame is involved in ACC Media Days, but they're not in the ACC.
No. They're an independent.
Yeah.
Something.
So last year's first-round playoff game was an ACC matchup between Clemson and Notre Dame.
Yes.
Come on, NCAA. Come on, college football playoff. The whole thing is a mess. Anyway, that's very interesting. You got Georgia third. You didn't get any flack about that. I did see some derogatory comments about your number 4 pick. A lot of folks in this part of the country aren't too high on Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines.
Well, I like Jim Harbaugh. I think he had a bigger rebuilding project at Michigan than folks really knew due to the fact that you're trying to compete on an elite level. It's one thing to try to be competing to get number 10 in the nation. It's another thing to try to compete to get in the playoffs, Kip. But I think Shea Patterson and Jim Harbaugh, I think that combination, the improving, outstanding defense they have there, and the fact that Ohio State is in a small decline with a new quarterback and a new coach. I think Michigan sneaks in the playoffs this year, and Harbaugh gets beat by 40 by Alabama in the first game of the playoffs.
So let's just set that line at 39.5 right away.
39.5.
We're going to talk about football betting in the third segment today. All right, so that's the top 4. That's the important ones because that would be the playoff.
Yes.
5 through 10. Who sticks out for you on your list here? Who can really emerge as a contender?
Well, you got several teams in the nation that can emerge as a contender. I think Oregon is clearly a team that if they get by Auburn in that opening game, the schedule sets up, the Pac-12 is easy enough for Oregon to make a run for a playoff spot. They have an NFL caliber quarterback in Justin Herbert. He'll be a first or second pick in the NFL draft next year. They are loaded in the defense also with outstanding speed. Oregon is a team that can make a run. Look for a resurgence with Texas, too. Texas brings back their coach, brings back their quarterback. They've been recruiting well. This may be the year the Longhorn gets at somebody like it did the Bulldog last year in the Sugar Bowl, Kip.
Well, as we mentioned, SEC Media Day is going on this week. LSU and Florida both made your top 10.
Yes.
I listened carefully to both coaches' presentations. I didn't learn much.
Well, there's still a lot of, Auburn easily could be number 10 on this list. We've talked about Auburn. Auburn is a team that could surprise if they get some quarterback help with the fact that they have the best defensive line in the nation, the third best offensive line in the nation. But Florida come back, it'll all depend on Felipe Franks. I think his name, Felipe. I always get Felipe. There you go. Slap it out of me, Clip. Felipe Franks. If his development continues, Florida will be a threat. LSU is outstanding on defense. Joe Burrows returns. You got the Cookie Monster down there. So LSU is also a team that could surprise this year.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's the Legends Top 10. Again, now we have interactivity because we've got our own Twitter page and our own new Facebook fan page, promotional page. So if you want to exchange ideas with Kip and the Legend, if you got some comments on the Legends Top 10, you want to put up your own Top 10, we want to be interactive. We want to hear from you. This is the fans show.
Yeah, this is for you. This is for you. If you want to challenge my top 10, if you want to go head-to-head with Kip and the Legend this year with the picks, get on our Facebook page, get on our Twitter page. We're going to be on Instagram. It's blowing up. You can catch us out at the Birmingham Racecourse, the hottest place in Birmingham. It's 5 weeks away, baby. It's getting pumped up in here, Kip.
Let's go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about SEC Media Days and do a little role playing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay with us. Back, everybody. Kip Keefer and the Legend on Talking Sports. SEC Media Days, right down the block here. Right all of the greats and near greats from the SEC have been converging. I have spent a lot of time listening to coaches' presentations, reading analysis. Not a whole lot of headlines coming out of these 4 days. Cut to the chase.
Really, it's boring.
It's pretty bad.
Should have had Kip and the Legend. Can you imagine the Legend asking Nick Saban a question?
Well, you got to spice it up. Okay, Nick Saban, of course, is the star of the show. Okay. Anybody who thinks otherwise is just kidding themselves. Yeah. He did say a couple of interesting things. I particularly kind of like the fact that, because if you ask Nick a question, after he looks disgusted, he usually will answer it. Yes. And the question came up about his thoughts on the transfer portal, which to me sounds like a Star Trek thing. I'm at Florida. I'm not happy. Beam me up, Michigan. Right away, sir. And boom, their molecules disappear, and they're wearing a different uniform,
like free agency.
But they asked him about, and that was the word he used. Nick Saban said the NCAA has let this get out of control. It basically now is college football free agency.
Yes, I agree with you totally, Kip. And, football has to get to the point, Kip, where we lock these kids in 4 years at one university. I think eventually this will hurt the game. It will not help it. I'm an old school guy. I love the days where the same guy that was a freshman defensive end at Alabama is a senior, and I get to see that development.
Well, there's got to be some repercussions for transferring. Because now you've just got this immediate ability to leave one school and be suited up the very next season. So, what's to stop any quarterback from just saying, hey, their quarterback graduated, they're going to have a better team than mine. I want to be at the controls of that outfit. I mean, you make a commitment to the school. Of course, the counter argument is, well, the players don't get paid. They need to have freedom of movement. They get a free college education, room and board. exposure to, if they have the talent, take their abilities to the next level and get heavily compensated.
Yes.
I'm not against the players getting some funding, but I don't think that's a reason to give them unlimited access to go wherever they want.
Yeah, I agree with you totally.
All right, so we're going to do a little fun. We're going to have a little fun
Let's
here.
have some fun here.
You know, we're talking about the coaches and how boring the whole proceeding is. We're going to do a little role playing.
Let's do it. I love
and we're
it.
going to play the roles of coaches to say what we really want to say.
Yeah, what they really said at SEC Media
So
Day.
I'll start.
Okay.
You know, Kippen the legend didn't get no credentials to the SEC Media Days, but I did. My name is Billy Bob Buford from the Bug Tussle Bugle. And
right.
I have a question for you, Coach Saban.
Yeah, bring it on.
Coach Saban, everybody says Clemson is better than Alabama. What do you say to that?
Well, I think it's a stupid question. I don't like the media, but I'm up here anyway because my contract makes me be up here. I'm much smarter than you. I've always been smarter than everybody in the room. That's the whole room, okay? Now, I want you to understand this, right? The combined whole room. I want you media members to get this straight. It was the coach's fault. They had their mind elsewhere. They didn't get the players ready, and I told you that this week. Their minds were in Maryland and places that it didn't need to be, and I got rid of every one of them. And the staff I have now, I've made it clear there will be some waterboarding going on if this happens again.
Thank you, Coach Saban. Okay, I want to be Kirby Smart. Ask me a
All
question.
right, I'm Gene Boobaboo from the Georgia Gazette, and I would just like to ask you the question, Kirby, that every Bulldog fan wants to know. Can you, and when will you beat Alabama?
Well, you know, last year we had them beat. I had a perfect play call. That fake punt was a perfect play call. The Alabama coaches, they're such a mess. There's so many of them, 21 consultants, all these people on the field. They didn't get in the right defense. They were in the wrong coverage, and it screwed up my whole play. So that wasn't my fault. We had the play called. Everybody says it's a disaster. We had Justin Fields out there as the short man on the punt, but why did that tip anybody off? It's been unfair, unjust. And the other thing, Alabama the last couple of years, they keep changing quarterbacks. That screws up all of our defensive scheme. They can't do that. That should be against the rules.
Come on, Kirby. Come on, Kirby. Will you beat Alabama, Kirby?
This year. We're going to get them this year. All right, real quick. You're Gus Malzahn.
Oh, no.
Gus, I'm Ashley Allvad from one of the local television sports affiliates. I need to ask you about, are you going to let Kenny Dillingham, the new offensive coordinator, actually call the plays?
Well, down at Auburn, where the grass grows green and the cows grow large, who calls the plays is not important. It's the end result. And I got $49 million in the bank, and I feel like Auburn's going to give me $49 million more after I blame this freshman quarterback and this OC this year for this 8-5 season coming up. But otherwise than that, we're doing good. We're doing things. We're getting places. We're not accomplishing much, but things are good at Auburn.
So what you're saying is, if the team wins, it's because you've succeeded, and if the team loses, it's because the quarterback and the offensive coordinator have failed.
There I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known.
On that note, we have to go to break.
Like
back
a drifter,
after this.
I was born just to walk alone, but I made up my mind.
We'll be right back. Hey, we're back, everybody, on Talking Sports. I think things have...
Calm down.
Yeah,
calm down.
we've regained our sanity. Well, maybe not that, but the other big story on Talking Sports always, you know that guy on Twitter a few weeks ago said, Talking Sports is nothing but a fourth-rate betting show.
Yeah.
Well, we're at least second-rate. Come on, man. But betting is a big part of what we do because
we're the only show in town.
this is the fan show.
Yes.
And what a hypocrite. I guarantee you that guy's got action everywhere on the weekends.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to talk about football betting a little bit here,
Love
and talk about some of the early Vegas lines that are out on the first week and some of the other big games of the year. But before that, I always like to start off. We had this discussion last year, and I want to get your thoughts on it again. To me, the very best scenario is for betting football is to find a team that's playing at home that is getting points.
Yes.
I like the home underdog
Yeah.
in almost every circumstance.
Yes.
What are your feelings on that?
Yeah, the home dogs are good, especially early in the seasons. The game will be closer, unless it's Alabama Duke, than normally later on in the season. So home dogs early on when teams are still adjusting, still getting used to the new personnel, because these teams overturn every year in college, Kip. New team on the field every year. So it'll take a week or two to adjust. Those are the time to jump them home dogs. Outstanding evaluation.
And I also look at, and we talked about this last year too a little bit, but let's bring it back up again. I like to look at the two primary units of each team, the offense and defense. How does Team A's offense match up against Team D's defense and vice versa? And a lot of times, if you look at those four units collectively, one of them doesn't really measure up, and that gives you a good indication of which way you should go on a game.
Yeah, a prime example is the Auburn-Oregon game. Oregon's strength is Auburn's strength. So that plays into the favor of the Auburn Tigers, that their defensive line will be going up against Oregon's best player, which is their quarterback, and that Auburn's worst unit, which is their offense, will face against Oregon's worst unit, which is their defense. This plays into the hands of the Auburn Tigers.
And a great point, because as you said, we're not dismissing Auburn having a chance to be a good offensive team. It's just an unknown at this point with a freshman quarterback and a seemingly good stable of running backs, but they're going to have an outstanding offensive line, and they've got a lot of things going for them. Let's start with that game as we look ahead at some of the spreads coming up opening week. Auburn is getting respect, and you got to be, that's got to get your attention. They finished 7-5 in the regular season, won their bowl game big. So they were 8-5 last year, but they're a 3-point favorite over Oregon in that first game.
Yeah, and I'm leaning. We'll give got David Legend right now working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the Legend Bat Cave. We're breaking all these games down. He called me last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, thought he was hallucinating, said that he's leaning towards Auburn, but I think he's on to something here.
Okay.
I'll tell you, another game I love on this list is the fact that LSU -1 at Texas. Mark it up, ladies and gentlemen. Blow the bugle. This is already a playoff game this early in the season. This is what makes college football great, kid.
That's week 2 in Austin, so that's a great intersectional game to look forward to. All right, Alabama, 32.5 is the early line against the Duke Blue Devils. Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, and here's the problem with this 32.5. It's not a game that I would bet, and I'll tell you why. It'll be 28-0 at halftime. Tua will be sitting in the locker room. Mac Jones will be up under center, and every second and third string player at the University of Alabama will be on the field, including the water boy and a couple of cheerleaders in the second half. So I wouldn't mess with this game because Alabama will back the gas off to save the players. Most of our players will only have to play a half in most of this cream puff schedule season that we have, Kip.
Kind of find it intriguing because you're so used to seeing just gigantic Alabama lines. In week 3, when they visit South Carolina, a team they don't usually see up in Columbia, Alabama early listed as just a 16.5-point favorite.
Yeah, my favorite line last year, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to spit it out again. Get your water bill paid, get your power bill paid. This is where you send that woman to Vegas, you pay that alimony, you get out of the country if you need to. So go on and take this 16.5 on the Vegas line now because it's available. Come game time, this will be about a 23.5 line, Kip.
Wow, that's going to be interesting to see. Another one caught my attention. With all this Notre Dame hype, they come to Athens, Georgia for the first time ever in week 4. Georgia early listed as an 11.5-point favorite against a supposedly national playoff contender.
Yeah, Ian Book is a nice little quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. Jake Fromm is a great quarterback, and DeAndre Swift is a first-round caliber running back. The Georgia Bulldogs look like the old Washington Redskins hogs up front, ladies and gentlemen. This is a loaded team, a true contender, a team that Alabama will have to square off. Oh, we will beat you. But we will have to square off with this team down the line. They will destroy Notre Dame. Notre Dame is not ready for this. And that Clemson offensive lineman that said Notre Dame was the best team you played last year, stop getting hit in the head, dude.
Yeah, too many concussions. We'll be back with our final segment right after this short timeout.
You got it.
Final segment here on Talking Sports. The time just flies by.
Man,
We're having a great time.
Awesome.
We got a couple of things we need to cover. First, I want to tell you that today, big horse racing news,
Yes.
Monmouth Park. We don't talk about that very often. It's on the Jersey Shore. That's where, all those characters from that show. Jersey Shore. But Monmouth is a cool old-time track, but they've got a big race every year, the $1 million Haskell Invitational. Guess who number 7 is today in that race?
Oh, no, he got out of jail again, didn't he? Oh, my goodness. Out of jail again.
He's going to be a massive favorite, but you know what? They've got the 2 spoilers. Remember the horses that ruined my life in the Preakness in Belmont?
Well, I'd never forget it.
Everfast and Jovia, they're both in the race.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So expect the unexpected. I'm picking against Maximum Security here. I really don't know who I like. King for a Day, the 1 horse, probably can run with him. So that's going to be my upset pick. But Monmouth Park today, big horse racing news. Del Mar out in California is open. Saratoga in upstate New York is running. Great horse racing day. Greyhounds from Birmingham Greyhound Racing, our sponsor. Gates open right now, 2 o'clock and 7:15 tonight for fantastic greyhound racing action.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it, but you need to know it. The Birmingham Race Course is the place that is happening in Birmingham, Alabama. It is exploding. They got the state fair coming this year, Kip. They got a lot of activities going on out there, and Whitesnake is coming out there this year. Can you believe it? This is unbelievable. Here I go again on my own.
You know, the biggest concert in Alabama history was held at the Birmingham Race Course
N' Roses?
in 1990. Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses. We're still finding braziers and stuff in the infield from that.
Oh.
But now Whitesnake, which that's
awesome.
big time. Coming to their track.
They're like Gray Snake now, but they still do.
Well, that's right. At the state fair. All right. We talked about it a little bit at the top. We've got all kinds of platforms now that you can get involved with Talking Sports.
Yeah, you can go to our Twitter page, Talking Sports 14. We're also on Facebook at Talking Sports. We're going to have Instagram up this week. We're putting the final touches on our web page. You're going to be able to be interactive with everything. You're going to get live scores, live comments from Kip and the Legend. We're going to be bringing you information that other people don't bring you, because we are what other people ain't in this business, ladies and gentlemen. We are 100% real. What does that mean? I'm an Alabama fan. I do not apologize. Kip is an Atlanta Braves fan. We do not apologize for who we love. We give it to you way other folks don't give it to you. We give it to you unfiltered, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and you know, the interactivity is what I'm most excited about, that we can directly communicate with all the folks that follow our show. And again, Kip and the Legend, we have our opinions, but we value and welcome yours.
Yes.
We don't dismiss you as, well, they're just fans.
That's right.
This is the fans show.
That's what we are. We are fans.
That's why we're excited to have this for you. So final thoughts on this weekend.
Well, get ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're 5 weeks away from kickoff. Ain't you pumped? I'm pumped, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready to tee it up all year with Talking Sports. Danny Sheridan, Paul Feinbaum, Kip and the Legend. We're going to have George T. We're going to have all the great ones on this show, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to be making you money. Tune in. Come out, see us at the race course. It's the weekend.
That fake punch should have worked. Oh, we already did that segment.
All right, Kirby.
We got to go. We'll see you next Saturday, 10:30, right here on ABC 3340.